Johnny Nelson, former British and WBO cruiserweight champion, has been running his mouth far too much recently since the David Haye and Dereck Chisora bout was announced. He's saying, oh, they shouldn't be allowed to fight because they're going against the border control and they disgrace the sport. And granted, yeah, Johnny did become a world champion, a WBO champion, and he beat the likes of Carl Thompson, and he had a few good wins over some Europeans. But let me tell you this now. They haven't disgraced the sport like you disgraced it back in the day. You nearly single-handedly killed off British boxing. I mean, I was shocked the television networks continued to show boxing after your performance against Carlos de Leon. It was the worst performance in terms of a fighter challenging for a world title. It was the worst. And you're lucky nobody's uploaded it onto YouTube, because you might lose your job as a Sky commentator if somebody uploads that fight and show how appallingly bad you was, how you nearly shut down British boxing. I think the guy landed, was it under 10 scoring blows for the whole 12 rounds. When he was throwing punches, he was moving away as he was throwing them. He didn't even plant his feet long enough to throw one solitary solid blow. He was so scared. Carlos de Leon was a good fighter, but he was never known as a ferocious, aggressive, powerful fighter. He was a good defensive fighter, but yet you was fighting him like you was fighting Foreman, Liston, Ali, or Tyson, and we haven't forgotten that. Well, I haven't forgotten that. It's like I'm saying, there's a lot of new jacks making boxing channels, and they don't really have no depth or knowledge of what's gone on before. But I'm not one of them. I'm not one of them. Yeah? And you did the same thing again against James Waring in America. You did the same thing again. So it wasn't only once, it was twice. Only this time, ITV was smart enough not to cover it. And even when you did win the title, the television networks didn't fuck with you. You ever think about that? You was one of our few world champions at the time. I know it was just a WBO, but that's still a recognized body in terms of world championship boxing. And ITV or BBC didn't fuck with you. Maybe some of the cable networks might have put some of your bouts on, you know, because what you have to bear in mind in them days, yeah, is most people didn't have Sky television. Sky is satellite over here, if people don't know, yeah? And most people didn't have it then, right? Most people used to rely on 4 terrestrial channels for the television viewing. So that's why when people like Chris Eubanks and Nigel Benn and Michael Watson used to fight, they was clocking up massive figures, 14, 15 million, big viewing figures, right? Any big events on TV them days had massive viewing figures because there was only 4 channels, unless you had Sky, yeah? And you was one of the few world champions, and they wouldn't put your bouts on television. That tells you what impression you had on the people who decide what goes on television, right? And I've got that video downstairs on VHS, you know, amongst the hundreds of tapes I have, yeah? It's only I have no means to convert VHS into a format that's compatible for YouTube. And anyhow, I find that tape. And I find out how you convert VHS tapes into a compatible format for YouTube. I'm going to upload it, you know? Because there's no way that Chisora or Haye disgraced British boxing as much as you did. I'm sorry. It's the truth. And I know it's because his paymasters at Sky Sports are in absolute fear of Frank Warren. Because Frank Warren is a bit of a maverick, yeah? And he's going to use this Box Nation thing, and I believe he's going to build it even better than Santanta. Santanta, I really miss it. They really covered the boxing brilliantly. I have to give them credit on that, yeah? And I think Box Nation are going to start dealing with it like that. Sky Sports are soft, yeah? Sky Sports are soft. Don't try and build up Kell Brook as the next Sugar Ray Leonard, because I'm not having it, yeah? Kell Brook has had over 25, 26, 27 fights. And then you're trying to sell me this Matthew Hatton fight like it's some big major British clash. And I said beforehand, no, it's not. He's going to win it easy. Matthew Hatton has no hands at this level. He has no hand skills at all. Yeah? He's a fit boy who takes a fairly good shot, but that don't make him a world-class fighter. Yeah? It was never a big match. Yeah? I tell you what, any knowledgeable fight fans use the Ring magazine ratings as their basis for ranking fighters. And I do that. That's what I do. Yeah? So I tell you what, Mike Jones is rated just below you at 5, I think, yeah? And Paulie Malignaggi is rated at 6. So the way I see it, yeah, you're not going to get a shot at Floyd for now, or Victor Ortiz or Berto. You know what I mean? So let's see Sky or Kell Brook's people call out Malignaggi or Mike Jones. And let's get it popping. And let's see if you can fight. Yeah? Because that would be a proper fight. Yeah? And it will sell too. Because Paulie Malignaggi knows how to sell a fight. Yeah? Mike Jones is known well enough in the American circuit that you could sell that fight. Yeah? So if Sky's worried about Box Nation taking him over for numbers, we'll make the right fights. That's what you need to do. Yeah? David Haye versus Dereck Chisora is a very good bout, because here's how I see the heavyweight division. You have an A and B division. The A division belongs to Vladimir and Vitaly. And to be honest, nobody deserves a crack at them. There's no fighters out there who deserve a crack at them. And that's the truth, because you can't really see nobody beating them at the moment. There's nobody on the immediate horizon. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't mind seeing Seth Mitchell having a crack at one of them, because he seems very strong, determined, and who knows. But you could never put Seth as the favorite if he was put into face either one of them. But Chisora versus Haye? Come on, man. That's a no-brainer, you know? It's like what David Haye's manager, stroke trainer, Adam Booth said, yeah? They had the big altercation in Germany. They scrapped it out. Yeah, okay, they've apologized. How much time do you want them to apologize, yeah? And they're two boxers, yeah? If two boxers have a dispute between them, where better a place for them to resolve it than a boxing ring? You know? I mean, in the old school days, they always talk about if two men had bad blood, they should both glove up, find a nice little vacant spot somewhere, and get it in. You know what I mean? Yeah? And Johnny Nelson, I'm not surprised you're crying like a little bitch, because when you used to fight like you was part of the anti-boxing brigade. Let's face it. So there's no shock there. Oh, they should use violence. They should use violence. You know what I mean? Yeah. True to form. They're disgracing the sport that I used to grace. You know what I mean? Yeah. Fuck, you used to grace it. Johnny Nelson, the former BMA champion, British Medical Association, trying to get the sport banned from out the country. Keep quiet. You know what I mean? All roads lead to Upton Park on July the 14th. Dereck Chisora versus David Haye. The whole world is going to be watching. You know, this is the fight where people who don't even dig boxing that much are going to be looking out for this fight. And I noticed Vladimir starts flapping his lips too. Oh, this fight is a freak show. Yeah? Your fights are a fucking bore fest. Right? You know what I mean? You can't sell no fights outside Germany. Let's say you go to an American television network and sell a fight. Go on. You ain't selling shit. Let's see if any American television networks picks up Haye versus Chisora. Cha-ching. I mean, I watched your last fight against Mormon. You know? As you leaned and mauled all over him. A man who was how much inches smaller than you? You know what I mean? A man who's never did anything in the heavyweight division to suggest that he was a threat to you. And this is why I keep telling people, please look at that video. Even just remember the title of that video I made. What's being humble got to do with being a great fighter? Because the Klitschko's are great examples of that. You know, look, charity is good. Yeah, we all know charity is good. You're giving something back to people less privileged to you. We all know that's good. But by fight time, nobody cares that you're bringing out the little sick boy to the ring. Nobody gives a fuck about that. They want to see a good fight. Yeah? So you think smiling with the little boy and this and that, yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah? That's good. But it's no substitute for a good boxing match. Yeah? And I don't advocate face first brawling. I don't advocate that. But the way you were mauling and pushing down on that guy who was much smaller than you, didn't have no real power at heavyweight level, never showed any sort of form at heavyweight level that he could be a threat to you. You fought him like you was fighting Liston and Tyson rolled into one, you know? And the referees out there allow you to get away with some fuckeries, yeah? And even the referee had to warn you, stop pushing down on the guy's neck. Emmanuel Stewart had to warn you, stop pushing down on the guy's neck. And even when you got the warning and you went out for the fourth round, right? You had to force yourself not to push down in his neck. I saw it in you. You wanted to push down in his neck, but you realized you couldn't do it no more. You was going to get thrown out and Manny was going to chastise you. You know what I mean? And you had to force yourself not to do it. And even when you scored the knockdown, you had to do some shoulder charge first and then punch the guy. You know what I mean? Like, you know, look at Jim Screechy boxing, yeah. Look, nobody wants to see it. Yeah? Nobody wants to see it. And look, if you was to beat a Pete Tyson or a Lennox Lewis using them same tactics, I'd have to give you credit. It might not be the prettiest boxing, but I'd have to give you credit, yeah? If you was getting legitimate wins against that caliber, nobody could say anything. And the American networks would have to showcase your fights. But yo, these are D-list fighters that you're fighting like that. Nobody wants to see it. Even when you fought pillow-fisted Eddie Chambers, you was fighting him like it was Ike Ibushi and shit like that, you know? And even Emmanuel Stewart, I think when he got to the 11th or 12th, said, look, man, you got to knock this guy out. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to see another points win. And you can see Vladimir was vexed when Manny said it to him. He was like, all right, man. And he went out and he took Chambers out, which he should have done rounds and rounds back. Yeah? And you see, I think Vladimir and Vitaly are frustrated that they can't get that kind of love outside of Germany. But they have to weigh up the factors, you know? They have to weigh up the factors. I mean, because everybody's blasting Lamont Peterson for the drug taking that it seems he's admitted to. But yo, Vitaly's took them too, yeah? And let's face it, he's very influential on his little brother. So, how much would you bet against me that Vladimir's took them too? Yeah? It's just the truth of it. Yeah? And if you're going to fight D-list boxers, you have to bang them out like Tyson, like a Riddick Bowe, like Evander Holyfield. Yeah? And Frank Maloney, you can shut the fuck up too. Barry Hearn, you can shut the fuck up too. You and your prize fighter tournament. That's run its course. You know what I mean? That's played out now. You know? He was good for his little time, you know what I mean? But yo, we want to see 12-round fights. Not no 3-round fights and shit like that, you know what I mean? 12 rounds, 10 rounds, proper boxing matchups, you know? Haye and Chisora, this fight is a no-brainer. This fight is a no-brainer. And, oh yeah, Glenn McCrory, you can get the middle finger too. The British border control. Yeah, what about them? Peace out.